Hello boys and girls, Sergei DRATCHEV here, Heavy Haul TV. And you can probably tell by my surroundings that I'm not trucking. This is the second week that I'm sitting on my butt. Freight is slow, but today I noticed it was picking up. I did talk to a couple of agents. But you know, the rates were too cheap. Like when I found a load that I had to go 100 miles empty and then pick up the load on the US side, and loaded miles were 120 miles empty, but it's away from my home base, and then I have to come back, so it's like 290 miles, you know, of driving empty plus loaded. But the rate was not too good, so I called my dispatch. I gave them this info because they have to book this, because you know I'm operating under their authority. And I said, ask him for, you know, a bit more money. And then a short while later they emailed me saying that that agent loaded one of their own trucks, probably for the same money that they were yeah, you know, if you're in the area where the load was, then it's not a bad load. It was actually quite a high rate per mile, even though it was pretty much like a step deck load requiring ramps. If you remember, a while ago I did move like a pickup truck, just like a regular, you know, Ford. No, it was like a Dodge Ram, but like a bigger with dual wheels in the back, and I just moved it to Detroit. So this was pretty much the same deal. And then I did find another load, but I didn't look at the height. And I talked to the guy. He gave me the rate. So I emailed the dispatch, and they said, well, you overlooked one thing, the height. You would need a, you know, special escort, the high pole guy. And I replied, I said, you know what, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, like if it requires an escort, I'm out of here. Because that rate, you just lose like 50% of the money, you know, because the escorts are paid off the top, right? And it's in the States, it's like $1.50 a mile. So that's gonna be my occupation when I retire. And also, of course, you guys probably noticed, right? So I just want to remind the viewers that I'm not American, that I'm Canadian. And that's part of the problem, is that like a Mexican driver, I'm only allowed to go into US and back, but I cannot move loads inside US. I can do whatever I want in Canada because I'm a Canadian citizen, so I can move loads, let's say, from Alberta to Ontario, from Ontario to Manitoba. But even then, quite often you run into problems with local regulations. Like, for example, my truck is a 4-axle truck, right, with a pusher axle, and that axle is not recognized west of Ontario. As long as I go into Western Canada, right, you would think that, hey, it's the same country. But over there, if you want to haul something heavy, you need to have a Jeep, right, like a single or 2-axle frame thing with wheels that's attached behind the truck. And you know, so it sits between the trailer and the truck with its own gooseneck, and they're very expensive. And what I don't like about them is that on the way back, so usually these guys that use Jeeps and boosters or spreaders, they only move loads one way, because on the way back, where do you put that, you know, axle, this Jeep or something? You put it on the trailer, and then you don't have any room for a load, and it's very clumsy, and you have to pay all the time everybody to set up your truck, right? And also, these Jeeps and boosters, most of the time, they're not recognized in the States. So it's like crazy. It's like even Canada has distinct set, like 2 distinct sets of regulations. One is Eastern Canada, like Ontario and East, and one is Western Canada, right? Like over here, lift axles are fine in Ontario. In Quebec, you know, they don't like you lift your pusher axle. They prefer when it's self-steer or self-steering axle, right? But they do recognize 4 axles. and also they recognize 4-axle trailers, whereas Western Canada, again, they only recognize 3-axle trailers. So like I have a flip axle, must be chained, cannot use it. And the same with the pusher axle, they're not happy just seeing that axle up, but they also want to see a chain around that pusher axle, especially when your controls are inside the cab. You know, it's like crazy, and all that produces lots of obstacles for guys like me, you know, Canadian, so, and specialized area, heavy haul. So I'm limited here, so pretty much limited to Ontario and Eastern Canada. But Ontario is, you know, it's like the best province for work. Like, there's nothing in Alberta now. Well, maybe things will change now with that Trump, once he gave the green light to reopen that, you know, that Keystone project. And so I was researching, yeah, and I do get comments from time to time from guys and gals, right? Like, why don't you just move to US, right? And actually, it's probably the real reason is that I'm lazy, because it's easy. As long as you know English and you can do your research. Now, please disregard my smiling. I don't know why I'm smiling, but basically, yeah, you're lazy. It's too much paperwork, you know, you're used to this kind of weather, you know, snow, cold temperature. Like, why would I want to move to the States with better weather and more jobs? So finally, I decided today, I have time, right? So I got off my butt and I pushed a couple of buttons on my supercomputer, and I found on the US immigration website, like the government website, I found a very easy, you know, it's all planned out, real easy, very easy to read, and it says green card through special categories of jobs. Oh, I like the sound of that. So a green card, that's your permanent residency, right? So that's what gives you the right to work. And I don't think anybody remembers why it's called a green card, because it's not a green, it's not green, but basically it's a permit, right? Now, turns out there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 possibilities, and pretty much anybody can do it. So there are a number of, and I quote, there are a number of specialized jobs that may allow you, me, to get a green card based on a past or current job, such as like I said, it's easy. So 8 jobs, if you're in this field, you can get a green card to US. Number 1. I'm sorry. Number 1. Afghan/Iraqi. Afghan-Iraqi translator. Okay. Number 2. Broadcaster. Number 3. International organization employee. Okay. Number 4. Iraqi who assisted the US government. Okay. Number 5. NATO-6 non-immigrant. I have no idea what that is. It says, if you remember at the top, it says there are a number of specialized jobs that may allow you to get a green card based on a past or current job, such as, and then in the list they say NATO-6 non-immigrant. How do I get a job like that? I don't want to immigrate to US. I want to be a NATO-6 non-immigrant. Like, if that's a job, if it pays money. But okay, I digress. So Afghan-Iraqi translator, broadcaster, international organization employee, Iraqi, I gotta ask my dispatch if we qualify as an international organization, because we move loads to and from US. So Iraqi who assisted the US government, NATO-6 non-immigrant, and my My favorite is Panama Canal employee. Panama Canal employee. And I should check my resume. I don't remember. Maybe I did work there. Panama Canal. Physician national interest waiver. Like whoever designed this, and I'm quoting from a U.S. government website. How can physician national interest waiver be a job, right? Whereas again at the top they say these are the jobs that can qualify, that may allow you to get a green card, which clearly is not a job. And last but not least, the job that can allow you to get a green card based on a pastor Karen job is a religious worker, or as it's known in Russia, Pope. Priest. Don't believe me? See, I took a picture of the screen, and this is it. So like I said, it's real easy. I just need to decide. I have to look into my what kind of dictionaries I have. Maybe I'll qualify as an Afghan Iraqi translator, or maybe I should get a seasonal job as a Panama Canal employee. And if all fails, maybe I should become a religious worker. I don't know. But so far, I don't have it. I don't have a clue. Basically, actually, on a serious note, I did find a story back in 2005. Some U.S. attorney from Buffalo, New York, wrote a story for Canadian magazine called the Truck News. And he looked into this, if owner-operators from Canada, like trucking owner-operators, right, with, like me, with the truck and trailer, if they can qualify for a visa. And the short, like the gist of his story was, he looked at the different visas and he says no. Because your main, they say, United States immigration, they don't care what your job is called. Because of course anybody can register a corporation, right? I can register a corporation because that's all legal, and instead of being sole proprietor, I can be a corporation and give my truck and trailer to this corporation, and then try to do this HB1 or whatever it's called, like, you know, business visa. But and then I'm a president, right? And hey, I'm the managerial you know, person, and they say no. They look at your functions, you know, so if they look at the functions of your job, if it's primarily driving, that does not qualify. So basically, only managers or professionals such as, you know, doctors, lawyers, yeah, you can do that. You can, let's say you're a lawyer or a doctor, you can get invitation. Let's say a doctor, right, like seriously, let's say there's a dentist or something, and he or she is tired of living in Canada. They can find somebody in the States, like a hospital, right? And then this hospital invites them, because let's say they are short of these particular specialists in that area. I don't know, maybe like a children's doctor, right? And then this physician can qualify for that visa, but again, it's like a temporary visa, up to 3 years, and there's no guarantee that it'll be extended after that. So basically, it's a very complex procedure. Even people that have family in the States have trouble getting the green card, you know, because it's a totally different country from Canada with total different set of rules. And I mentioned this before. Once I was in Laredo, Texas, and I was sitting at a truck stop and there was nothing there to do, so I called a cab to go to some nicer area, and I think I wanted to go like to a restaurant, and I started talking to the cab driver, and he looked Mexican, and he says, yeah, like his parents were from, like, there's a lot of people from Mexico, right, like their roots are Mexican. And this guy said that he was actually he was born in US, but his parents were Mexicans, and because he was born in the States, he became a citizen. But he has a brother, and his brother is, I forgot, I think he was an engineer, but very educated guy. And you know, his own brother, and he says they've been waiting for that green card for like 10 years, you know, just to rejoin with the family. So it's very difficult. It's pretty much impossible unless you are a really trained professional, or there's another category. It says if you possess some real talent, you're like, you know, you're the top of in your field, like you're some nuclear physicist, or I don't know, like a big star, you know, Hollywood actor. You know, that's how all these people, you know, immigrate. Let's say some Australian, I don't know, Nicole Kidman, you know, or you're an athlete, you know, if you are like a real star athlete. And speaking about athletes, I think it's what I should do. I should check how many push-ups I can do. Maybe I'll qualify in that field. It just occurred to me. So stand by. Thanks for watching. I'm Sergei DRATCHEV in Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, for now.